Hey there, actor friends. Welcome back to Casting Actors Cast, the podcast that helps you prepare smarter, act better, and book more. I'm Jeffrey Dreisbach, casting director, teacher, and your friendly guide through the wonderful, weird, and sometimes wobbly world of show business. Today's episode is one I think you're going to really appreciate because it answers a question I get all the time. What do casting directors actually remember about you? Spoiler alert, it's not your hair color, your wardrobe, or how you pronounce cheeseburger in your slate. It's something way more interesting. And understanding it could literally change how you walk into every audition from now on. This is Casting Actors Cast.
Casting Actors Cast, what a show! With Jeffrey Dreisbach, we're ready to go. From agents to gigs, learn what you lack. Tune in every week, we're bringing you back.
We're going to kick off the show right after this. Welcome back to Casting Actors Cast. I'm casting partner Jeffrey Dreisbach with the McCorkle Group in New York. Nice to have you here today. You know, that is absolutely true. It's a question I get all the time in slightly different formats with the classes that I teach. The same question happens, but in a slightly different way. It's like, how can I stand out in an audition? Or what are you looking for? What is that certain something that you look for in an audition? Those are the kinds of questions that I get. And today is the day I'm going to be answering those questions. But first, this is that moment of the podcast where I get to say thank you for tuning into Casting Actors Cast. We're up to like 392 episodes of the podcast. I really can't believe it. It's been so much fun bringing these to you. And I just wanted to thank you for tuning in. I invite you to check out the website, castingactorscast.com. That's castingactorscast, all one word.com. There you're going to find some cool stuff, I think. You're going to find, if you fill out the form that says dive into the talent pool, there's some freebies. Yeah, totally free. One is a book on doing voiceover work called Conversation Pieces Out of the Studio, the voiceover workshop for professional actors. There's also a video called Casting Secrets, What They Don't Tell You. Also on the website, you're going to see a course that is available, very reasonable, and I think really valuable. But there's also my book that I'm really, really proud of called Booked It, the actor's playbook for getting cast. And that's also available on audiobook. So all kinds of things there going on. And of course, my shout out to my good friends at Actors Connection, actorsconnection.com/New York. So I find that such an interesting question that I get from actors all the time. But let's break it down just a little bit and talk about the myth of the perfect impression. You know what? I know that actors try to leave a great impression, and that's understandable. You want us to think you're professional, talented, likable. You want that callback, right? I get it. I've been there. But guess what? Here's the truth. Casting directors aren't sitting around afterward saying, wow, remember that actor who smiled so perfectly and said thank you 3 times? Sorry. Nope. We remember moments, genuine human moments. When something about you, your choices, your authenticity, your sense of play connects emotionally or truthfully. Guess what? Here's what we don't remember. The safe, polite, careful performances. Those blend together. What sticks? The actor who made me laugh unexpectedly, who took a risk that told me something about the character I even hadn't considered, who made the words sound like their own thoughts. That's gold. And so rethinking the question is the most valuable thing that you could do right now. Instead of asking, what can I do to show off or stand out? It's nothing you can do other than be committed to the work. Let's talk about what actually stays in a casting director's mind. So I'm going to break down a few things that we actually remember after a session ends. I've got 5 of them. I think you're going to find these helpful. 1, emotional clarity. When you connect authentically, not overly emotional, but clear, we feel it. We might think, wow, that person really understood the stakes. That lingers. Two, unexpected choices that make sense. When you surprise us, but be careful about this. I don't mean in a random way. You take what's on the page and elevate it with a personal truth. What do I mean by that? Maybe it's your timing. Maybe your timing is a little offbeat, or you bring a quiet power instead of obvious energy. I remember that. I also remember if the character you're playing has a sense of humor. Bringing humor into any scene, even if it's a serious one, approaching the material from a different, offbeat point of view can make a real difference. Number three, ease and self-awareness. You see, the actor who isn't trying to impress, but just does the work, that calm professionalism, that stands out. Confidence doesn't shout, it resonates. Okay, somebody write that down. That was really good. Number four, connection. Connection with the reader, connection with the text, or connection with the casting director. If I see you genuinely listening instead of waiting for your next line, I'll remember you. You made the scene feel alive. And then finally, number five, let's just call it recovery. And this one's big. If you mess up, if you forget a line or you have a rough moment, everyone has that. That happens all the time. But you recover with grace. I promise you all absolutely remember that, because that's real world professionalism. Make sense? Here's a story I've got to share that illustrates this, I think, absolutely perfectly. We'll call it the story behind the memory. I once cast an actor for a film role because of something that happened in an audition 2 years earlier. She hadn't booked that project, but I remember her poise after an awkward mistake. You see, the director had spilled coffee mid-read, and while most actors would have frozen and stopped, she just smiled and said, "Let's make this part of the scene." It was funny, it was human, and it was effortless. That moment told me volumes about how she would be on set. She would be adaptable, she would be good-humored, she would be confident. I wrote her name down. 2 years later, when I had a role that needed those exact qualities, guess who came to mind? Listen, when we come back, we're going to talk about how you can create lasting impressions right after this. Okay, how can you create lasting impressions? So as an actor, what can you do to create that kind of memorable experience? Here are my tips. There are 5. Start from the inside out. Make sure your understanding of the character is grounded in real emotion, not performance tricks. What's the situation really about for you? Number 2, focus on connection, not presentation. That's a big one. I want you to look at your reader. I want you to listen deeply. Let the scene be a conversation and not a monologue. That's a biggie, because you're feeling like this is your audition, that you are sort of being tested, that you are being judged. Gosh, that could be really not only painful, but that can also just be another layer that we don't need. The character doesn't think in terms of being tested, does it? It doesn't, but the actor does. Number 3, don't hide your quirks. This is a big one as well. So many people have unique and interesting qualities about themselves. Your individuality is your brand. The things that you think might make you kind of weird or different or offbeat, those are often exactly the kind of things that we remember. It is your uniqueness that is going to book you the callback and the job. Those quirky little affectations that you think might be, something you want to kind of disguise, absolutely wear it like a badge of honor. I promise you, those get remembered. And that's remembered for a good reason. Because if it fits in with the vision of the character that you're playing, then there's no one else who could play it quite like you. That's what gets remembered. Number 4, I want you to stay relaxed and playful. Just remember that it's a creative process. It is not a test. We remember people who make the room feel good, who approach the work with curiosity. Number 5, be kind. Seriously, we remember kindness. I think you might be surprised how rare that can be in a high-stakes audition day. And I get it. If we're doing a television pilot and you're an actor who's been given an audition for a TV pilot, that could really make the difference in your career. Maybe going from a struggling actor who's, trying to get in there and make it happen for themselves to suddenly have an opportunity like a TV pilot that could really change the trajectory of your career. Of course, those stakes for the actor are going to be really, really high. And that's why I suggest working against that just a little bit. Working against it in the sense of just be the professional. Just focus on the task at hand and do your best to turn down that volume in the head that's giving you all of these high-pressured, weird energies about how important this audition is. And I've said this before in many podcasts, but I just love it when the actor treats an audition like they've booked the job and it's the first day of rehearsal. You see, that makes a big difference because that means you're in a collaborative sensibility, that you're in a place that's saying, I got the part, I'm really here to work, let's have fun, let's do this. And that's not easy. But I'll also tell you that's a learned thing. That is not something that you can just sort of do. It's something that takes a little bit of time, and be very conscientious of those thoughts, because what we think about ourselves is exactly who we are. The good news, we can change that. So I want you to think of yourself in a slightly different light, and that is an audition is not a test, it's just an opportunity. And that opportunity is one in which we can see how you're playing the part. The subtext is, I can't wait for you to see how I'm going to play this part. All right, I hope that was helpful. So here's your takeaway. Remember that casting directors, we remember truth. We remember authenticity. Casting directors remember you when you stop trying to be impressive and instead focus on being real. Don't aim to be unforgettable. That's a huge mistake. Because even now, I know that teachers say, listen, it's a tough business. You got to stand out in that audition. You've got to be memorable. You know what? The way to be memorable is aim to be undeniably present. The rest is definitely going to just simply take care of itself. I promise you. So listen, if today's episode resonated with you, please share it with a fellow actor who needs that reminder. And if you haven't yet, check out my audiobook, Booked It. My online course is called Next Level Auditions. They're both designed to help you take these insights even further. Until next time, this is Jeffrey Dreisbach reminding you, stay inspired, stay specific, and keep showing up. You never know who's remembering you. Bye-bye.
It's been great having you in our talent pool today. Your support means the world to us, so please consider sharing, liking, and reviewing this episode wherever you jump in. I'm Megan Grace Martinez. Thanks.